Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live. The Kansas City Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. You only win a Super Bowl 2 times every 5 years, right? Oh! The warm-up act is over. Let's bring in Melissa Etheridge, massive Chiefs fan. Melissa.
Super Bowl champion, 2-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score! And we'll see you next week, but until then, as always, go Chiefs.
Welcome. This is Wacky Wednesday on the Arrowhead Addict channel. I'm Adam Best, here with Sterling Holmes and producer Richard. Sterling, the mustache is back, I see.
Oh, yeah, baby. Heading in a bachelor party this weekend, so I figure have to bust it back out for the bachelor party, right? It only makes sense.
I am a new convert to the mustache family because of you. I have losing a bet to you to give all the credit to. So thank you, sir, for that. I see that you're also rocking a tight fade. Looking good, man. The Chiefs.
I like this. No, we're going to spend the whole hour just giving me compliments. I like this. This is way better.
You gotta reciprocate later on.
I like your shirt. Your shirt is fun. It's very Wacky Wednesday. My turn.
There you go. The Chiefs. Did you think they looked pretty good on Saturday?
No, I mean honestly, not really. 6 plays of Kingsley Suamataia, now he's Trent Williams, Xavier Worthy playing 6 snaps. I mean, yes and no. Carson Steele looked great. The secondary offensive line looked atrocious. Special teams was just a disaster. Just an utter disaster. And quite frankly, now that I looked at more games around the NFL, I don't want to say, it's the first time playing in the preseason with the new rules. A lot of the other teams, sure enough, figured it out pretty easily. Chiefs had their issues. And I'm not even just saying McCole Hardman. I'm just saying coverage. The actual coverage on the kickoff was atrocious. But besides, all the negatives, it was fine.
Yeah, all the niceties ended real quick when we brought up Saturday night's game against the Jags. It's the preseason. You know where I stand on the preseason. It just does not matter when you are a dynasty, a well-oiled, fine-tuned machine like the Chiefs are. I mean, you shouldn't even worry in December, let alone August. We saw that last year. They lose to the Raiders at home on Christmas. NBD, no big deal, right? So that needs to be the attitude this year. No big deal.
I'm fine with it. I mean, again, I feel bad. I really do, because I tried telling myself I will never get to this point, and I'm not there yet. But I used to hate when Patriots fans would just say, "Oh, nice, you beat us. Well, we'll see in the playoffs." And they'd always be right. But it's kind of the same thing now with the Chiefs, where you lose in the regular season to the Raiders, and I'm sitting here going, Vegas, what are you celebrating for? The Chiefs just won a Super Bowl in your house. Like, congratulations on that Christmas victory. That was your present. Nice. But that's just the small present. The big present standing in February. I think that's more or less where I'm at. I don't want to say regular season games don't matter, because they do. They're still fun. They're entertaining. They're exciting, obviously. But the Chiefs have bigger aspirations now. And, I've kind of pumped the brakes a little bit. I'm trying to really pump the brakes, especially after last year with all the doom and gloom a lot of times during the regular season, to say, hey, it's a marathon. What you run in mile 7, you might take some glimpses of, but are you still leading? How's that going to figure out when you have that final push, how much gas you have left in the tank for the final run? The Chiefs had enough gas.
They sure did. And other teams' Super Bowl is beating the Chiefs. The Chiefs' Super Bowl is the Super Bowl. So that's the difference between the Chiefs and everybody else. I had one follow-up from last week. My brother, Zach, a co-founder of Arrowhead Addict, and runs Fansided still to this day, had an 11th fan group, and that is Training Camp Truther. Gotta have that. Gotta have that. The guys that and girls that won't quit, Justin Ross, that won't quit Bobby Scipio or Darwin Thompson, and the list goes on and on and on, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Deneric Prince last year, Deneric Prince to start this year.
Darius Fountain,
Maurice French, Amir Smith-Marset. I mean, yeah, there's just a plethora of dudes.
But we salute these fans because it's hard for me to get enthusiastic in July and August. So we need some people doing the heavy lifting during those times. And they definitely show up. They definitely get excited about things that most other football fans don't. So that is helpful, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited for the show, Best, because you came up with a very good idea. What is said idea?
We're going to preview the AFC North because I believe the AFC North is the best all-around division in football. And the Chiefs just happen to play every team in that division this year. So we're going to ask 5 questions for each opponent and try to keep things as Chiefs-centric as humanly possible. So I think the only place to start is the Baltimore Ravens. They were the last team we played in this division in the AFC Championship. They will be the first team that the Chiefs play on opening night. So big revenge game. My first question for you. After the soul-crushing home loss in that AFC Championship game, the Ravens simply will be more motivated on opening night.
Yes. Doesn't mean they're going to win, but they should be more motivated. They got bodied. They got bullied. Almost playing their own style. They tried to play the Chiefs style of passing the rock. They got shut down, and the Chiefs played a little bit of clock control, little bully ball, defense first, and it worked. So if you're Baltimore, by the way, in their house, if you're Baltimore, this game does mean more to them. This game should mean more to them. I know in reality, the regular season, especially week 1, the Chiefs lost to the Lions. People freaked out. But the Ravens need to, again, try and prove a point that that's behind them, that what transpired last in the playoffs is behind them. I will also point out, they've been great in the regular season. How much do they really have to prove in regards to that? It's almost just the boogeyman, the Chiefs. Because come playoff time, we know they'll be there. We know they'll make the playoffs. It's what happens in the playoffs for them that shows that they crumble. But week 1, they'll be up.
Well, you said, what do they have to show for it? No team in the AFC, except for the Tom Brady Patriots, have anything to show in terms of Lombardi trophies since Patrick Mahomes emerged on the scene. So that's not a outcome unique to the Ravens. I think everyone is struggling in the playoffs, but they do seem to have some unique problems transitioning regular season success to the postseason. So I think this is a very good team. There is a lot of turnover, both on the coaching staff and on the field. So week 1, that could very well affect the game. But I think there's a coin flip chance that the Chiefs lose this game, especially with the Chiefs integrating some new pieces on their own offense. I think that is very possible. And I also think it won't matter if they do.
Yeah.
I hate to say that, but I think the Chiefs have earned the right for us to say that they're in like the San Antonio Spurs sphere of it all, where they just earned the right to say you cannot judge them until the postseason starts. You just simply cannot.
Yeah, that's completely fair. I know it sucks that week 1 playoff implications already, right? Since you expect the Ravens to be competing for the 1 seed. Obviously, Hollywood Brown, at least in my opinion, is doubtful for week 1, right?
Correct.
Is what it is. It is what it is. And you mentioned the turnover, and Baltimore lost 15 players this off season. 14 signed elsewhere. 1 was traded. That's the most turnover in the NFL. They also lost, as you mentioned, 3 top defensive coaches. Will the Ravens take a step back?
I think defensively they will take a step back. They lost Mike McDonald, their defensive coordinator, is now the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. Very good. Zach Orr is replacing him. Look, this is the Baltimore Ravens. All their coaches turn out being good. This is one of the best run organizations in all of pro sports. I don't expect them to have some massive regression, but I do think that defense, which is unbelievable playing out of its mind last year, will take a step back. That said, their offensive coordinator is now in year 2. Lamar is going to feel more comfortable. I heard a quote where he said something to the effect of, last year we were building the house, this year we're just painting bedrooms. That's a pretty stark difference. So I think he's going to feel, Lamar is going to feel much more comfortable in this offense. They also brought in Derrick Henry. I think he still has juice. He's getting up there in both age and mileage, so that's to be determined. I think overall they won't win the AFC, so small step backwards. I'm not even totally sure that they're going to win the AFC North. This is a very competitive division, and it's kind of like whatever team is the least beat up by the end of the season kind of wins it, right? I think there might be one exception to that in this division this year. We'll see. But I still think they're going to be top 3 or 4 teams in the AFC when it's all said and done. How about you, Sterling?
Yeah, I don't really think they take a step back. Maybe a tiny one, but I could still see them winning the AFC as a whole. I think they win the AFC North. I know about all the players they have lost. That's what good teams do. Good. I mean, it sucks, but in the salary cap era especially, you lose good players. You can't keep them all. That's what makes the NFL and the salary cap era NFL so great, the parity. But the Ravens are a team that perpetually churns out, develops great new players. It's just what they do. Coaching staff, it's the same thing. They're still going to be there. Top 2, top 3 team in the AFC. And I if they were the first seed in the AFC, I would not be surprised. They're a great regular season team. That's what they do.
Miami Dolphins North. Those are the accusations being flung here on Wacky Wednesday.
Come on. They're better than the Dolphins in the playoffs, and I think they're a more complete team than the Dolphins. I think if the Ravens played in the AFC East, they're winning 15 games.
Ooh.
Maybe not 15, but close to it. Just because Patriots, easy. Jets, they probably take 2. And then I guess they'd be the 4th team, so they'd be the Bills. They'd probably take at least 1. So,
yeah. But does the style of play translate to the postseason as well as it does for the Chiefs and some other teams, the 49ers, etc.? One area where they have not had a lot of turnover actually is wide receiver, and this has kind of been a place where they've struggled in the past. So will that group be good enough to punish Spags when he wants to load the box or bring heat to stop Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, that potent rushing attack?
No. I mean, they're fine. It's a better group of receivers than they've had in the past. Obviously, Mark Andrews, that tight end, you throw him into the equation, makes it a little different. The loss of L'Jarius Sneed for Kansas City, I'm intrigued to see how it plays out overall. Dave Merritt talked even today about how no one has stepped up and taken that CB2 role. Williams, Watson, Kelvin Joseph, Ekoboido, Najee Johnson. I mean, the Chiefs have a lot of CB3s, a lot of depth, but not really a guy you say every down he's going to be in the game alongside Trent McDuffie. So they'll probably have to do a lot of plug and play, and that's perfectly fine, especially against a wide receiving core like the Ravens. It's good. It's serviceable, but this isn't the 49ers. This isn't the Eagles. This isn't the Dolphins. And again, the loss of L'Jarius, of course, but they shut a lot of those teams down. Punish, too strong of a word. I think Lamar Jackson's a better throwing quarterback than sometimes he gets credit for, but he ain't Josh Allen. He's not Joe Burrow. I don't see him getting, I don't see the secondary getting punished by the Baltimore weapons. Bateman's solid. Zay Jones is good, but no, man. I'm saying no on this one.
Zay Flowers, but he hasn't done enough yet to not be called Zay Jones.
Zay Flowers. Did I say Zay Jones?
Yeah, but
I meant Zay Flowers.
I understand the mistake. The bad news is that the Chiefs don't have a CB2, apparently. I still hope that Joshua Williams eventually seizes that role, but that's to be determined. The good news is that the Baltimore Ravens don't have a wide receiver one. So let's run through this list. Zay Flowers, I think last year was a kind of high volume gadget guy, if that's a role that exists. Rashad Bateman, former first round pick, has just never put it all together, injury prone, wide receiver 2 at best, wide receiver 3 type. Nelson Aguilar, we all know about him. You know, they were making jokes in Philadelphia about not handing babies to him.
Hey, I will say in Aguilar's defense, he's put together a pretty nice NFL career. Once he got out of Philly, he went to the Raiders in New England. He's put together a nice career for himself. I will give him that, because that had to be damn hard.
Yeah, he is an improved player. I think he's still a bit of a roller coaster. I think he's kind of a wide receiver 2 on a good day, 3 on a bad day, 4 on a horrendous day. You know, unplayable on a horrendous day. He's in that range. Russell Gage had a moment in Atlanta, just not really a guy anymore. I like Devontae Walker, the rookie out of UNC. Tylan Wallace out of Oklahoma State a few years ago hasn't done anything. And then Deontay Hardy, used to be Deontay Harris, was in New Orleans, had some flashes, didn't really impress me in Buffalo last year. This is just an average group. I think this group is not even as good as the Chiefs receivers this year, honestly.
Oh, I would agree with that. Yeah, I don't think that's an argument with Hollywood, Rasheed, and Xavier. The top 3 right there. And then Justin Watson, I think, is better than Russell Gage. Aguilar is probably slightly better than Justin Watson, however you want to break that down. But Watson's wide receiver 4, while Aguilar's wide receiver 3, and Russell Gage is, at this point, a high-risk veteran as far as injuries and everything.
And the difference is they want to run the football. That is their bread and butter, where the Chiefs want to throw the football more than anybody in the league. So they're kind of polar opposites offensively.
Yeah. Number 4, safety Kyle Hamilton is one of the top defenders in the league last year. Travis Kelce, as remembered, got the better of him. This time around, can he stop Travis Kelce?
Stop. Ooh.
I'm not saying 0 for 0, but I'm saying, can he keep Travis to 4 for 40? Say under 50 yards.
He can. Out of respect for Travis, which he has earned, I will say on Travis's best day, when he shows up and he's in a zone, and if it's the playoffs, he's always in that mode. But nobody can stop him. But if there's a player who is built to hang with Travis Kelce, it is this big, athletic, very bright safety that they have in Baltimore, and Kyle Hamilton out of Notre Dame. I think outside of those elite edges that we've mentioned in the past in the show, guys like Myles Garrett, who we'll get to, and Micah Parsons, outside of Chris Jones and Sauce Gardner, this might be the best defense player in the league. I mean, he is a top 10 defender. He's that good. So it's no knock on Travis Kelce for us to consider that Kyle Hamilton can stop him. But sometimes with Mahomes and Kelce, there was just nothing you can do. He was all over Travis Kelce on that touchdown catch in the AFC Championship. There was just nothing you could do. The ball placement, that mind meld between Kelce and Mahomes, sometimes there's just nothing you can do to stop it, even if you do everything perfect. So I'm going to say it's possible, but I can't say for sure, right?
Yeah, I think it's possible. He's probably the most likely guy in the NFL. I mean, at this point, he's better than Derwin James, right? Kyle Hamilton is so damn good. He has the size, the speed, the quickness. But at some point, Travis and Mahomes, that connection just always seems to take flight. It almost is better against elite competition because it gets them up as well. I say no, but he has the best chance of anyone of slowing Kelce down.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. He has the best chance of anyone. But we've seen in the past previous guys who had the best chance, whether it was Derwin James or Jalen Ramsey. If Travis Kelce is on one, you're going to get beat. You're going to get beat. He understands the game better than you do. That's just a fact. And he knows how to get open better than maybe anybody in the history of the game outside of Jerry Rice. So he's just going to do his thing. I saved, I think, the most important one for last. Number 5, 3 offensive line starters are gone. Morgan Moses, who was traded to the Jets, Kevin Zeitler, and John Simpson. Can this reconfigured unit hold up in week 1 against Chris Jones and company?
Yeah. The Ravens, I give a lot of credit to. They just seemingly always find ways. It's what they do, and then you add in Lamar Jackson's ability to make guys miss. Right? I love Chris Jones. I love Karlaftis. I like Mike Dana, but they're going to have their hands full. I don't care how many missing pieces. Sometimes it's like the Chiefs' ability to just develop corners, right? Secondary players. The Ravens seemingly develop offensive linemen at will. They move on, they rotate, and they're still good. Chris Jones, Karlaftis, Dana, Turk, FAU, they're going to have to bring their A game because it's not just once you get past the offensive line, it's now, okay, we're past the offensive line. Now we also have to try and find a way to get to Lamar and not let him sneak by us. It's hard. It's damn hard.
I'm having some flashes, some PTSD. I think it was Drew Tranquil trying to bring him down. And just, he's so slippery, so elusive, so athletic. Nobody moves like Lamar Jackson. There's no way to replicate it in practice. You've never seen anybody at the quarterback position play at the speed he plays. So, yeah, just an impossible task. And like we say, sacks are a quarterback stat. So he has a lot to do in helping this offensive line gel and get by. Week 1, though, 3 new starters against the premier interior pass rusher in the NFL. That's not where you want to be. So I think for Chris Jones, there is a higher likelihood that he's going to pinpoint a weakness in this offensive line when it matters than even last year in the playoffs. So I think they'll hold up, but they might not hold up in crunch time. Is that fair to say?
Sure. I'll agree with that.
That wraps up the Baltimore Ravens. Let's move on to our good friends, the Cincinnati Bengals, our good friends. Starting off with number 1, will Joe Burrow neuter his playing style in an attempt to stay healthy?
No, I mean, he wasn't really he wasn't Josh Allen trying to go into contact to begin with, so no, he'll play the same way, but I'm very concerned about him. I'm concerned about his hand, his wrist. I'm concerned how it's going to hold up. I'm concerned that there's long-lasting effects there. I feel bad for Joe. As much fun as it is to rip on and have these friendly rivalries with the Bengals, I don't want him to be injured and just destroy his career. You don't wish that on anyone. As ADG points out, Burrow's a slow starter. Again, he's not. He's been a slow starter to begin with, coupled with the injury. What's he look like? I don't think he neuters his playing style, but I'm not as high on the Bengals as a lot of people for a multitude of reasons, and the majority of them point to Joe Burrow.
Some of this is going to be imposed by the coaching staff. I think, given what they did last season when he was out, I expect them to have him under center more, and for them to try to get him to get the ball out, and maybe even roll him out of the pocket more. I don't know. They're going to try to get creative to protect him, but I wonder if by doing that, they're going to take away some of what makes Joe Burrow so great. Joe Burrow is fearless. Joe Burrow will stay in the pocket as long as he needs to, and he'll make big plays. And I think that's part of what makes him great. And if he can't be durable, it may not matter if he wants to change or if the coaching staff wants to change him. He may just not be durable enough to play. I would love for Joe Burrow, this may sound crazy as a Chiefs fan, I would love for Joe Burrow to never get hurt again in his NFL career, because every Michael Jordan needs a Reggie Miller, needs a Clyde Drexler. You know what I mean? LeBron needs guys pushing him. Joe Montana needed guys pushing him. That's just the way these things work. Tom Brady needed Peyton Manning to become Tom Brady. I think that's what kept him going when after championship after championship. So I think that's how I see Joe Burrow as well. And it's fun actually having teams that can kind of go toe-to-toe with the Chiefs. We don't want them to just steamroll the entire league. I don't think that's good for their legacy.
Yeah. Number 2, can swapping Tyler Boyd and Joe Mixon out for Jermaine Burton and Chase Brown help create more explosive plays? The key to Cincy's recent Super Bowl run.
Yeah, let's throw Zach Moss in here too, the running back acquisition. I think maybe so a little bit. Tyler Boyd and Joe Mixon are good football players, sound football players, tough, smart, all those things. Neither one of those guys has ever been called explosive, right? And I think you already saw Chase Brown offer some of that. And we know Jermaine Burton, knucklehead that he is, was a big play waiting to happen in college. So if these guys can integrate somewhat quickly, and we know Chase Brown is already on his way to doing that, maybe. But I think that is the missing ingredient from that Super Bowl run when Joe Burrow was just going bombs away to T. Higgins, to especially Jamar Chase, that they haven't really found again. And part of that is the first time you're doing it, when the league hasn't really made up their mind about you, doesn't really have a ton of tape on you, it's easier to get away from that. But now that they do, and now that they figured the Bengals out a little bit, and also the league has moved to just, they're not going to let you have explosive plays. That is the era we're in right now. They're just going to limit explosives. So I don't think this is going to be a big difference, but it might be enough of a difference for them to win a couple more games.
Yeah, this should help them. Joe Mixon, the name is great, but Joe Mixon, the productive player, we will see. Chase Brown was really nice. He made some plays last year for fantasy football. Good stash. I have on my fantasy dynasty league bench. I think it was a good stash there. And then, yeah, Tyler Boyd, I think, really fell off. I mean, last year, the past two, really, you've had injuries to T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and especially last year, Tyler Boyd never stepped up. It was, a plethora of other dudes. It was Trent Irwin at times stepping up before you'd see Tyler Boyd. So, again, if Burton can keep his head on straight, stay out of trouble, I think that should open up more explosive plays for the Bengals.
Number 3, I think this is the story of the Bengals offseason. And the question is, after all the contract disputes, can the Bengals rekindle that old team chemistry?
I kind of want to say no. I'm not trying to be a hater or anything, but I think Jamar's going to get his. Trey's probably going to walk. And T's last year. That's hard, man. Like, if you're a player, how much are you going to fight through contact if you know that this is your last guaranteed year? Bengals aren't known for throwing a lot of money out there. I'm not saying they will, because I like T. Higgins. I've talked to T. Higgins. I've interviewed T. Higgins. He's a great guy. I really enjoyed talking with him. I'm not saying he will do that. But again, at the end of the day, you're trying to make... But what? He's probably making close to 80+ mil in free agency. Easy. Trey Hendrickson's probably making 50 mil plus guaranteed easy in free agency. That's hard, man. It's hard to say, yeah, I'm going to fight through every little thing here. If I have a little injury, a nagging injury, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to go out there and give it my all. If you're in the final year of your contract, fair or not, you might say, hey, I'm a little banged up here. Do I want to risk it? Could I make this worse and potentially impact my earning potential? The window is, as Phantom's saying, the window has closed for the Bengals. I wouldn't say it's closed, but it's shutting, man. It's shutting.
I think what you're seeing here is a similar problem to San Francisco. You have a team that has Super Bowl problems without the trophies, right? They're kind of a victim of their own success. When you go to a Super Bowl, all of a sudden guys like Trey Hendrickson and T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are seen as stars. They want to be treated like stars, paid like stars. It is hard to keep that nucleus together. It's what's been so impressive about the Chiefs. They haven't kept everybody, but they've kept the right pieces to keep winning. This is a lot at once. Trey Hendrickson is one of the most underrated players in the league. Yeah. I can't really sit here and question how hard he'll play, because that guy plays. He's like Karlaftis, he just,
yes.
And Tamba Hali, he just plays. He's a maniac out there. T. Higgins has been hurt a lot. I can't say definitively that if he's got a hamstring issue that is lingering, that he's going to be super eager to get out there and play at 75%, kind of like what you said.
Yeah.
They're going to pay Jamar Chase. That's just going to happen at some point. So I'm not really worried about that from their perspective, but this is a lot going on at once. And I don't know that their head coach and the leaders of that club outside of Burrow have the stature to kind of absorb this blow like the Chiefs did with Chris Jones or other problems in the past. So I don't know that their culture has the strength that the Chiefs have is basically what I'm saying.
Number 4, with a return of versatile safety Von Bell plus the new arrival Geno Stone. I really like Geno Stone. Get Lou Anarumo's defense back on track, or was Jesse Bates the key ingredient?
I think Jesse Bates was really a key ingredient there. If you look at what he did for the Atlanta Falcons last year, he was incredible. He went down there. I think he had something like a 91 PFF rating. So he was kind of spectacular in a new defense last year. I think Von Bell is a very good player, and Lou Anarumo uses him perfectly, but he's not Jesse Bates. And I don't know that Geno Stone is either. So I'm just trying to think about the rest of that secondary. Slot Mike Hilton, I think he is a really good player, a very good player, like a top 5 slot or so in the league. But their outside corners, guys like Cam Taylor-Britt, DJ Turner, and Dax Hill, who they actually – he was a safety. And the safety project went so bad that they're like, okay, you're a corner now. So I just don't think their outside corners are that good. But also, we have to give Big Lou Anarumo some respect. He's one of the best defensive coordinators in the league. He's one of the defensive coordinators, along with Steve Spagnuolo, that quarterbacks want to see the least on any given Sunday. So I'm not going to doubt him, but I just haven't seen enough from them last season to say that that incredible unit that they had, kind of the no-name defense of what was it, 2021, where they were just playing way better than the sum of their parts, and just every ingredient was put in perfectly, and the final dish was just amazing. I don't know that they can get that back. That was kind of catching lightning in a bottle. So how about you?
Yeah, I think Lou Anarumo should get a lot of credit. He's similar to Spagnuolo, is almost like a big game coordinator, right? Where sometimes during the regular season, maybe it's just okay, maybe it's good. Last year, obviously, Spags was phenomenal, but it feels like a lot of times their best games come in the biggest moments, right? Their best game plans come in the playoffs. I love Geno Stone. I was shocked they got him for that price. I thought that was a phenomenal pickup. Also hurts the Ravens while helping yourself. It's a good combination there. I think Jesse Bates was a phenomenal player. We'll see. But I think regular season, they're going to struggle, as you mentioned, because the cornerback play, I don't think is very good. But come playoff time, I never count them out because I do think Lou Anarumo is that good of a big game coordinator.
He's just got an exotic Rolodex, and I think, like Spags, he throws unexpected stuff at you at the perfect time that catches quarterbacks and offensive coordinators off guard. 5, the final question here. Did all the smack talk from the Bengals place them on the Chiefs' permanent shit list?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, not just fans shit list, which I think is completely fair. Chiefs fans should feel a certain way about some of the Bengals fans. But it does feel like Jamar Chase is going to get a second contract in Cincy, more so than Hendrickson or T. Higgins, right? And he's the number one shit talker. And I don't mind it, actually. I think it's fun. I love rivalries in sports. I actually love that Jamar Chase talks smack. He's a very good player, too, so it's not Eli Apple talking it. It's Jamar Chase, one of the best wide receivers in football. When Jamar talks, you're like, okay, at least he's a very good player. I love the Pat Who. I love the I ain't saying his name like it's damn Voldemort. I enjoy it, okay? Everyone can say what they want. They can feel a certain way. I get it. I find it fun. And it riles up the Chiefs, and it riles up Mahomes, and it riles up Travis Kelce. It's Burrowhead my ass. I love it, baby. I love rivalries. Chiefs kick their ass.
Don't poke the bear, let sleeping dragons lie, all that stuff. It kind of goes back to Justin Tucker fucking with Travis
Language.
Kelce.
Language. You're supposed to come on.
Sorry.
Justin Tucker, and he was with The Chiefs.
Yeah, Mahomes and Kelsey, and that backfired in spectacular fashion. I just think you leave the Chiefs alone. I agree with you. Jamar Chase is a phenomenal player. He's a fun shit talker, but he is the certified #1 Chiefs hater in the world. And it's a little pathetic, actually, that he can't even say Patrick Mahomes' name. I think we're kind of living. Chiefs Kingdom is living rent free in his head, right? And I think he's contributing to building Mahomes up as this Voldemort, as this boogeyman. That's only good for the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs psychologically beat some teams before they even step on the field. And the more you keep building up Mahomes as this mythological figure, and trust me, not saying his name is doing more to accomplish that than saying his name. So thanks, Jamar.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
It's fun. It's fun. Rivalries are great for the sport, and the Broncos and Raiders and really the Chargers haven't been pulling their weight in that department. So, the Bengals are kind of a de facto AFC West rival for now.
Yeah, I like it. All right, let's get to Cleveland. The Cleveland Browns. Number 1, can a new offensive coaching staff and struggling quarterback, Deshaun Watson, get on a roll before they play the Chiefs on December 15th? They fired Alex Van Pelt, their former OC, and Kevin Stefanski. 2-time Coach of the Year, Kevin Stefanski, still calls plays.
I like Kevin Stefanski. I think he's a fairly good coach. He ain't fixing Deshaun Watson. I'm sorry. Deshaun Watson is broken in a way that can't be fixed. Mentally, emotionally, this is not the same guy that we saw the last year in Houston. And it's been a long ass time. It's been a long time. There's no evidence that he's found even a semblance of a spark, right? There's just no evidence of that. So I don't think it really matters that they brought Jerry Jeudy in. They brought guys in last year, both of the last years, I think. They brought in Amari Cooper. They brought in Elijah Moore. They're trying to surround him with talent. They've had good running backs. They've had good offensive lines. They've had David Njoku, who I think might be the most underrated tight end in the National Football League now. He really had a breakout year last year and looked incredible. So I just don't think there's any salvaging this guy. I mean, they had to get rid of Joe Flacco because the players would probably have revolted if they kept Flacco or anybody else, Jacoby Brissett, anybody like that was on the roster. I think certain players would be clamoring for them to replace Deshaun Watson because that's just how bad Deshaun Watson has been. But also the vibes of Deshaun Watson, we don't have to relitigate all that again. Everyone knows what happened, but he just has a permanent dark cloud over his head. I just don't think that's good for the culture or the team.
Yeah, I think Stefanski's a good head coach. As we saw, I mean, they had just so many injuries last year to important positions, and they found their way into the playoffs. You're right. I mean, you can't keep Flacco because there'd be a legit quarterback controversy, and you can't do that with the contract Watson has. Yeah, I just think he's bad now. Like, I just don't think he's a good quarterback. And you can't win a lot of games, important games, without a good quarterback. Really talented defense, good offensive line, solid weapons. But unless Watson shows any sort of he's turning it around, I don't see it. I mean, they'll even with him playing how he did last year, they'll win probably 10 games. I mean, that team is really damn talented. He's just not good.
He's not. And Ken Dorsey isn't enough of a quarterback guru to come in and fix him. That's just not going to happen. And he's got another problem, which leads us to number 2. The Browns lost Bill Callahan, the league's best offensive line coach. Apologies to Andy Heck. Will this allow Kansas City to have success after what's been a good line?
They have a lot of good players. Joe Bitonio, Wyatt Teller, Jack Conklin, Jedrick Wills, and then was it DeJuan Jones was the young cat, right? From last
Ohio
year,
State.
2 years. Yeah. They got talent. He's a great O-line coach. Losing him's big, obviously, but at some point too, talent's gonna weigh out. Like the Ravens have so many moving parts, but you trust the Ravens to get it right. The Browns are going to get it right because they have so much talent. They'll be fine.
The red flag here, the one issue I want to throw at you is that Conklin, Wills, and DeJuan Jones all ended their season with knee surgeries last year. And DeJuan Jones is playing and looking pretty good at right tackle. But left tackle, I think, is a problem because, as I currently understand it, Jack Conklin and Jedrick Wills are not playing yet. They have no clue who's going to be their left tackle. That's not good. But like you said, Bitonio, Teller are rocks inside. They've been Pro Bowl, if not all pro guards, pretty much for the last 5 or 6 years. Really good players, good coaching staff, right? You're not going to be as good when you lose Bill Callahan, but I think it's going to affect the running game probably more than it will affect Deshaun Watson. If there's one thing that Deshaun Watson can still do, he's still evasive. He's such a magician in the pocket that I don't think he's lost that. I just think he's lost everything else. So
number 3, after not 1 but 2 surgeries to repair a brutal knee injury, will Nick Chubb be the same player he was, a superstar, as he was in the past?
Whew, this is tough. I feel really bad for Nick Chubb. He's someone I admire. He's one of the hardest workers, and I think he's actually a running back who makes a difference. But he tore his ACL. He tore his MCL. He tore his meniscus. He tore stuff that I had never even heard of. So, but he's kind of a freak. He's kind of a specimen. He's an extremely hard worker. I'm not going to bet against the guy. I think he will be an impact player by the time the Chiefs see this team in December, right? December 15th, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's going to be the same next season. Could be wrong. We've seen it before with Jamal Charles and Adrian Peterson, and he is that kind of talent. And I'm not going to bet against him, but I'm also not going to bet on it. I don't think he's going to be the same player by the time the Chiefs play them.
I'll say, yeah, he's the same. I think he's just a freak of nature. I almost, it's part of me just wants him to, too. Sure. Like such a brutal knee, and I mean, it was just horrendous. He's
hard
been
to
working
watch.
hard. I mean, you've seen him what he's been benching, which if I were part of the Browns coaching staff, I'd say, dude, what the bleep are you doing? Don't put that much weight on your knees. I don't care how much you can bench or not bench, squat. It doesn't matter. Do less. Do less weight. But Nick Chubb's just almost one of the more, like, some people view him as like the best running back in football, and some view him as like, I almost view him as like the most underrated player in football, like, because they couldn't pass the ball a lot of times during his tenure, and he was still putting up the crazy numbers, almost a la Jamal Charles. Dude's awesome. So just for the fact I'm rooting for him, I'll say he's back to being the same.
I think he might be the best pure rusher, him and Derrick Henry. I can't give them the best back in a world where Christian McCaffrey still operates.
Sure.
Because, he just brings the passing game element that's ultimately more valuable than the rushing game. But one of the best pure rushers we've probably ever seen in NFL history. I don't think that's an overstatement. He's been that good. Number 4, can the Chiefs offensive tackles hold up against the 2023 Defensive Player of the Year, edge Myles Garrett?
They can do enough. Mahomes can move back there, baby. He's going to have to move. Myles Garrett's one of those guys where it doesn't matter how good of a tackle you are, he's going to win a couple times. At least a couple times. Even if it's Trent Williams, Myles Garrett's going to win a couple times. He's just a freak, dude. I remember when I interviewed him, meeting him, his body's just built different. Like his forearms, it's just crazy. His biceps and arms are bigger than my body. Like, it's just insane. And the fact of how strong and quick he is and fast, I mean, it's just insane. Jawan Taylor, pretty good when he's not false starting or getting penalties. I like what I've seen from Kingsley Suamataia so far, but that's still a big ask for any rookie. He'll get a few. I'm not saying sacks, but he'll win a few, and it's going to be up to Mahomes to navigate to an extent. Maybe that's when you have Carson Steele as your Mahomes protector and just throw in a little chip back there. Throw in a little pass pro for an RB to hopefully give Mahomes an extra second.
This dude just moves different. He's just different. He is the one defensive player that maybe him and Micah Parsons that I can hear the argument over Chris Jones. They might be better than Chris Jones. And you know what I think about Chris Jones. So that's how good he is. I think he's going to get his. But fortunately for Chiefs fans and the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes is the most elusive quarterback in the pocket we've ever seen. He has eyes in the back of his head. He's incredibly slippery. He just does not take sacks. He doesn't do it. So Myles Garrett's only going to be able to do so much damage. The Chiefs are also very good at getting the ball out quickly when they need to. They can rack up yak. They can actually, we've seen this with Nick Bosa a lot. They can use a aggressive pass rusher, a dominant pass rusher's aggression against them at times with misdirection and certain kinds of play calling. So you might even see that from Andy Reid. Andy Reid's coaching and play calling, knowing how difficult the job is for the tackles against Myles Garrett and helping them navigate that easier by doing certain things to slow him down and screw with his head.
Yeah. Number 5, is regression in store for the Browns defense? It was first in total defense last season, holding opposing offenses to 270.2 yards per game. Obviously, the home road splits were also very alarming, almost trash can. Houston Astros alarming.
Absolutely. We know defensive success year to year is just not as sticky at the team level. They're not going to replicate this. It's just, it'd almost be unheard of to be this dominant 2 years in a row. I just can't really see it. They are going to be a top 10 defense. I'll tell you that. They're going to be a very, very good defense. I like their defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz. They have talent at every level. I like JOK. I like a lot of the pieces, but yeah, I like Denzel Ward. I like a lot of these guys. They just can't do what they did last season. If you look at history and you look at trends, betting against them is a smart move.
I'll say they're a top 5 defense, so take that as you will. That, I guess, means they're not number 1 in yards given up per game, but I think they're top 5. I think their numbers at home regress to the mean a little bit negatively. And then on the road, I think they get better because I think on the road, that was just wild how they were bad on the road. They were just that good at home. I think those numbers somewhat come together, meet in the middle. They're just so damn talented at, as you mentioned, all 3 levels. They'll be a top 5 D.
When they don't have that Cleveland wind, it's not the same, is it? I do think that weather is a considerable factor for them.
I would love to know what they do in domes. I don't have that obviously in front of me because they were so bad on the road in general that it didn't matter. But I would love to know what they do in domes. I wonder if there's a massive shift there.
I wonder if they caught that from Amari Cooper. I wonder if that's contagious because he famously was very good at home in the dome for the Cowboys. And then whenever he went on the road, he just melted. He just was. Yeah,
he's been good with the Browns though. So
he has
with no quarterback.
Yeah, he has been good with the Browns. He's an excellent player. He's an underrated player. And I think he'll get his against the Chiefs, but I don't think the Browns are going to come out victorious. And I also don't think this next team, our final team of the AFC North, is going to come out victorious against the Chiefs. That's the Pittsburgh Steelers, who probably have a bad taste in their mouth when it comes to Kansas City, because the last time they were in Kansas City, the Chiefs sent Ben Roethlisberger out of the league on a shield. It was really an embarrassing beatdown. I mean, you had big man trick play touchdowns happening at the end of that game, right? I think you're muted. Uh-oh.
Did I mute myself?
You sure did.
Not only did I mute myself, I also muted you. It was a very nice combination. My fat fingers, you can blame those. But yeah, that was absolutely electric.
It was electric. First question here. Did Pittsburgh try to solve having a bad quarterback by bringing in 2 bad quarterbacks to replace him?
Yes, but it was the right move.
Because of the money and the draft capital that they chartered? Yeah.
100%. Like, do I think they're 2 bad quarterbacks? Yes. But was it the right move? Somehow also yes. I think Russell Wilson's better than Duck Hodges or Mason Rudolph. I don't think Russell Wilson's good anymore. But for the contract and what you're paying him, he is a slight improvement, right? And he went 500 last year. Might as well slightly improve, right? I don't hate that for that price. quite frankly, he's cheaper probably than those guys either way. And then number two, what you give up draft capital wise for Fields, that's your upside guy. I think he's a bad quarterback. I don't think he's very good. I don't think he's going to hit his potential or his ceiling, but he's an intriguing young piece. Why not? Why wouldn't you do that? I don't think either quarterback for the Steelers is good, but it made sense. Both moves independently of each other even made sense. And when you combine them, it makes even more sense. You have your veteran with a floor. Then you have your young guy who has zero floor, but maybe has more upside. I really like what the Steelers did at quarterback, even if, again, I don't think either work out.
I'm going to say no here. I can't say that Justin Fields is a bad quarterback yet. His legs are such an incredible asset. And this is a team like Cincinnati, even worse than Cincinnati. They were allergic to explosive plays. They need to find that element somewhere. I actually think he's a pretty good pairing with Arthur Smith as a coordinator, who was kind of a disaster in Atlanta last year. But previously he had some good moments in Atlanta, and they were a surprise team the year before. And then in Tennessee, he worked wonders with Ryan Tannehill, and also, got A.J. Brown going. Derrick Henry's best years were under him. So maybe he can find some kind of recipe where they're running the ball, they're dumping the ball off to the tight end, and George Pickens is making some big plays in play action, and Justin Fields is getting about 10 design runs a game, and it's kind of working for them with as good as their defense is. Like you, I just think that the bets were such small bets. Like, where's the risk here? Where's the risk? If both these guys don't pan out, they just draft another guy. There's no risk. This isn't going to set them back at all like it did the Denver Broncos for, I don't know, 5 years or however long it's going to take them to dig themselves out of that hole. There's no hole here. This is just, they're going to make a bet this year and see which one of these guys wins the battle. I personally think it's Fields, because Russell Wilson's just done. He's just completely cooked. I don't think he has anything left. So I think they have maybe two bad quarterbacks, but Justin Fields has a lot of upside.
Number two, will Brandon Ayuk actually get traded to the Steelers?
No, I don't think so. It would be stupid for the 49ers to trade him right now. Either trade him right before the draft or on draft night to extract maximum value, or make him play. He can't sit out. What is he going to do? Sit out and not play with a Super Bowl contender, with the pressure of not getting paid, with the pressure of his teammates? I think the guy's going to play. He wants to play. He is playing hardball, but I think the 49ers can actually eventually win this negotiation. Does he really want to be in Pittsburgh? Does he want to play with those quarterbacks we just spoke about?
Yeah, he does. That's the whole thing. He wants to play in Pittsburgh.
I just don't understand why. I mean, why are you leaving Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy and that surrounding cast and that system for Arthur Smith and Justin Fields and Russell Wilson? It just doesn't make any sense to me. I do respect to Mike Tomlin, but they haven't been setting the world on fire either as a franchise for the last handful of years. So that just makes no sense to me. I don't think he's going to get traded, but maybe you think he's got a higher likelihood than I do.
Yeah, he wants to get traded, and he wants to go to where he wants to go. Like, there was talks of, like, what was it, Patriots, but basically he was not going to sign an extension with the Patriots. That's the whole rumor. There's a couple teams that they had deals in place for, and he basically said, yeah, if I'm not, I don't want to sign my extension there. And then the trades fall through. So it's not a no trade clause, but he's acting like he has one because he has the power to say, I am not going to sign an extension. So then in response, well, the team trading for him is not going to trade for him because they're only going to trade for him with a new contract in place. I'll say, yeah, I think he gets traded. I think eventually the Niners will just get so sick of it, they'll get draft capital back.
That's
yeah,
a good tandem.
I'll say yes.
That's a good tandem. Him and George Pickens, I think you want big plays. Those two guys can make them happen. I think that would be, they'd go from, trading Deontay Johnson, which was, kind of inexplicable. He's such a good player. You and I are super high on him. He gets open at will. Brandon Ayuk could replace him. He's one of the players that is definitively better than Deontay Johnson. So that would be quite the tandem, but I still don't understand it.
Yeah. I just don't think San Fran, as they're saying, I don't think San Fran pays Ayuk. Again, I do think the teams have more control, more leverage than I think people realize, because what are you going to do? Sit out the whole year, and then they could also say, hey, we're going to franchise tag you. Have fun. You basically have 2 years left if you really if San Fran wanted to play hardball, they could. But
Sure
do you want to deal that with the NFLPA, with the players, and then again getting nothing back in return? It's a lose-lose situation. So I think they'll just say they'll cut their losses and trade them.
Got to get a first-round pick for Brandon Ayuk. You just absolutely have to. We mentioned Mike Tomlin a minute ago. So number 3, are Mike Tomlin and this franchise stuck in a vicious cycle where they never will rise above AFC middle management?
Until they find a quarterback. So I think it's just too easy to say. It's unfun to say, but until they find a quarterback, no.
And the issue here is their defense is so good. Their head coach is so good that they might just be stuck in this mediocre purgatory where they're around 500 every year, which is going to put them out of contention for a quarterback. You'd almost want them, if you're a Pittsburgh fan, to just tank, to just finally be bad and have a chance at a top 3 pick. Maybe they'll be bad enough where they can trade up and get one, but not all years are like this year where there are a bunch of quarterbacks available. So that's like every other team in the NFL. Until they find a quarterback, they're just not going to be a true contender.
Yeah. Number 4, how good is TJ Watt? His sack number stays on the same level as Micah Parsons, Nick Bosa, and Myles Garrett, but the underlying data disagrees. Those guys have a pass rush win rate of over 20%, but Watt has been stuck in the teens. Chris Jones was at 18 to 19% the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, pass rush win rate. That's kind of a tongue twister there, but important stat. And Chris Jones being at 18, 19% in the same ballpark as some of these players. Now, Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons were considerably ahead of him last season, but not the season before. Remember, Chris Jones gets doubled twice as much as these guys. Some of them more than twice as much. So I think it's really impressive, first off, that Chris Jones is there. And I think sacks are overvalued. There is some luck involved in that. And I do want to say about TJ Watt, I think he is, we used the phrase big game hunter before in this podcast. He is a big game hunter. He is a sack artist. He is probably better than almost anybody at getting the quarterback down and closing. He's a closer, but I just don't think he's on the same planet as Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett, and to a lesser degree, Nick Bosa. These are just like all-time pass rushers, top 25 of all-time level pass rushers. I think he's probably the next tier down. He's probably still a Hall of Famer. I mean, that's no knock on him. I just think he's a bit overrated. I know Pittsburgh fans are probably going to give me hell for this, but I'm not the only one that has this opinion.
I think calling him an elite closer is the best way of putting it. You know, when he gets to the quarterback, he's going down, but he might not win as often or open up as many one-on-ones as Myles Garrett, Micah, and Chris Jones. Like, those guys will help their teammates more than TJ Watt. Although, again, I don't want to take anything away from TJ because I think he's such a great player as well. But if I were, going through the list, I'd probably have Micah above him. I'd have Chris Jones above him, and then I'd have probably Myles. Let's say he's top 5, though. He's a top 5 defensive lineman.
I don't know. I think I've got Max Crosby ahead of him.
I'd probably have Crosby 5th.
Yeah.
I'm only going one interior defensive lineman. I think Quinnen Williams just misses out.
Dexter Lawrence misses out. Mm-hmm. Nick Bosa misses out for you. Not as high on Nick Bosa.
Probably have to. I got to look back, but I might say injuries would play. I guess TJ Watt too, but
sure. Yeah, and he's got a lot of talent around him in Pittsburgh. Micah Parsons, I mean, what's he working with there? I don't think those defenses have been quite as good. Myles Garrett was part of a phenomenal defense last year, but before that, I don't think he was really consistently as part of elite units as much as TJ Watt is. So great player, phenomenal player. I just think sometimes we throw him in with Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons. Just don't think he's quite on that level. But like you said, very good closer, very good player. Any team in the entire league would be thrilled to have him on the roster. Yeah. The last question, number 5, is a very fun one. After last year's Christmas debacle, will the Chiefs want to send the world a message during the first NFL game on Netflix.
I don't think they'll try to, but they will. Like, I don't think we got to win on this first Netflix game. That's what matters. No, they know what they're going for, but it's the Steelers, so they'll wax them. They're not a good team, and I don't think a good matchup for Kansas City. No, I don't think they're trying to send a message, but will they? Yeah, I think they will.
Remember when the shoe was on the other foot and the Steelers totally had the Chiefs' numbers? We're not that far removed from the Steelers beating the Chiefs a bunch, including in the playoffs. And really, I think that was Alex Smith's last game, wasn't it?
Ooh, good call.
2017?
Yeah, good call.
Actually, it would have been, 2017, I think. So I kind of think this, I know this is like trying to pump up a kind of silly narrative a little bit, but I do think the first game on Netflix, what is becoming the predominant content platform along with YouTube in the world, it's kind of a big deal. And the Chiefs lost on Christmas last year. They got embarrassed. They played horrendously. They couldn't complete a pass. They couldn't do anything. I mean, the other opposing quarterback couldn't complete a pass, and the Raiders still won. So I think they're going to be tuned in, dialed up, all that, and they will want to send a message in kind of a marquee game when the entire league is watching. But I think the kind of hidden aspect of this is that's what they always want to do, especially late in the season. But, I mean, that wasn't the case last year, was it?
No.
Well, guys, that is all we've got for you today. We covered a lot of ground. I hope you are more familiar with the AFC North than you were. We play all 4 of those teams, but that wraps up Wacky Wednesday. One favor to ask, please consider leaving us a 5-star review, either on Apple Podcast or Spotify. That's really perhaps the biggest thing you can do to support the show. Join us live next week at 5 p.m. right here on the Arrowhead Addict channel. Until then, go Chiefs.